Cool. Tell me when I can start. Is this live, by the way? Oh, okay. Hi, everyone. Yeah. So, hi, everyone. I'm Marco, and today we're going to talk about how Rust makes open source easier. So, first of all, a little bit about me. I'm a Rust developer and also TypeScript developer at Prisma, and with these two languages I build cool database tools. Speaking about Rust, it's my favorite programming language, and I recently started a podcast about it. This is the second episode, and you can check it out at ieni.dev/rustship. I also created a free workshop where you can create Rust HTTP servers iteratively, so exercise by exercise, and yeah, it's free on GitHub. And there's also a video of me and Jaga going through it. So, first of all, I want to start with the question, what is Rust known for? The first things that comes to mind are probably performance and safety, because we all know that Rust is a program that you can use to create very fast languages with few bugs compared to other languages. But there's also one more thing I would like to talk about, which is the tooling. And with tooling, I mean the tools that helps Rust developers to develop in this language. So let's see our agenda for today. The talk is structured in two parts. The first one, we are going to talk about Cargo, which is the Rust official package manager, which allows to format your code, lint it, run tests, deal with dependencies, and write documentation. The second part, we're going to see community tools, so tools that aren't maintained by the Rust team itself, but by the volunteers from the community. The first tool allows to detect API breaking changes in Rust code, while the second one, it's a tool I wrote, and it allows to update the changelog and release your project. And we're going to see how all these tools makes the life of open source maintainers way easier. So, without further ado, let's dive into it. I will do a small demo about Cargo. So, I will start by creating a new library. And creating a new library in Rust is very easy. You do cargo new --lib because you want to create a library, and then you're going to name your library. For example, I'm going to name it as hat, as Schrödinger hat, which is the awesome organizer of this event. So I'm going to open this with Visual Studio Code, and let's see what Cargo created for us. The first thing is the cargo.toml, which is kind of like package.json for JavaScript, and we have the name of the package, the version of the package, which is 0.1.0, and then the Rust edition, which is 2021 in this case. We also have the git ignore, because Cargo automatically initializes the Git repository for us, and we have a source directory with the lib.rs file. So you can see that in this file we have a function which is exposed publicly to our users called add, that simply adds two numbers, and we already have a test for it that checks if this function works. So in this case it checks if 2 plus 2 is 4. So let's run this test. To run the test, we do cargo test. Now it's compiling, and it's running the test. Yeah. So you can see that this test, it works, was executed. Now let's create a binary to also use this library we have, right? So a Rust package can be both a library and a binary. When there is the lib.rs file, it's a library. When there is the main.rs file, is a binary. In this case, it's both. So we create the main function, and we create a sum variable where we use the add function, and we simply print it. So print line 2 plus 2 equals sum. So what I want to do now is to build this project, so the binary, and to do it I run cargo build. So cargo build places your binaries into, by default, into the I need to do one thing. Let's run again cargo build, and it places the binary into the target directory, target debug directory, and yeah, there. So you have the binary hat in this directory. So like in 10 seconds we created the binary and a library, and we also have a test suite. I think that in most languages this is a painful task, right? Because maybe you need to define a makefile, or you need to pick up a test suite, while in Cargo everything is there by default. So if you want to run your binary, if you want to compile and run your binary, you don't need to do it like this. There is a kind of a shortcut, which is cargo run, which will compile and run your binary. Also, let's say that we want to format our code, right? We don't want to format it by hand. Normally, you need to pick up a library for formatting your code. For example, in JavaScript you have prettier and alternatives. So let's make our code ugly. In Rust, you just do cargo fmt, and it's formatted by default. Most projects have the default settings, so all Rust programs are formatted in this way. So Rust projects are very consistent in style by each other. Now I also want to run some lints to my program. So you might have noticed that in Rust it's common to omit the return at the end of the function. But let's say that we don't know this and we write the return statement. Now my IDE is configured so that the IDE catches also lint issues, and by the way, I'm using the Rust Analyzer extension for this. So let's see that if we do cargo build, we already saw that no errors happen, but there is a built-in linter again in cargo, which is called cargo clippy. So cargo clippy will tell you that, hey, you don't need to do return left plus right, you just need left plus right. So we can both do this manually, but who wants to do things manually, right? So there is a shortcut to tell Clippy to fix things by automatically, and you just do cargo Clippy --fix. This is going to fail because cargo tells us that we have uncommitted changes. So I will just commit everything as we always do, work in progress, and we will run cargo Clippy again. Pay attention to this part. So you see that Clippy automatically formatted our code. Yeah, again, one more tool that you don't have to choose and impose to your users. Everything is built in. Now let's talk about dependencies, right? Let's say that we want to add a new function to make this library even more useful than what it's like now, and we're going to make a function that takes a number and return another number, which is a usize, which is a non-signed integer in Rust. So we need to have the right part, which is a usize2, and to create this right number as a random number, we use the rand library. We don't have the rand library yet, so how do we add it, right? Well, you just do cargo add rand, and cargo will, yeah, you can see here, will download the library from credits.io, which is similar to npm. It's just a registry where there are all open source Rust library. Everybody uses this. So you type rand, and here is your library. Here it is. So cargo here downloads the code from credits.io, and it statically links this code with your binary. So all your libraries will be statically linked, which means that if you give your binary to a friend of yours, you don't need to, it doesn't need to install other libraries. Basically everything is self-contained inside the binary. Cool. Now let's see what cargo did. We could have done it by ourselves. You don't need to run cargo add. You just add this line to your dependencies in the cargo.toml file you saw before, and yeah, cargo add simply selects the latest version and adds it to your cargo.toml. So that's great. Now the Rust compiler is not complaining. Let's use now this function into our code. So let's open main.rs, and let's create sum2, which is add rand, and we add 1 to a random number, and we print it. Cool. Now, sorry. Okay, this is how you format strings in Rust. And yeah, let's run cargo run. We will see that it prints two numbers. The first one is 2 plus 2, and the second one is the 1 plus a random number. So again, adding a library was super fast, and yeah, we have this advantage that the library is statically compiled. We can see that we have we can see all the libraries we have in our project by running cargo tree. So it gives you a tree of all the dependencies of your project. So the hat binary depends on rand, the rand library depends on all these other libraries, and so on and so on. Cool. So now I want to show how to another cool thing about libraries that I like is that it's really easy to dive into the source code of your libraries. So first of all, if you hover with your mouse on a library, it gives you the documentation of that function, which is great. But you can also command click on it to go to the definition of your library, and so you can add breakpoints inside your libraries. It's really easy to work with libraries in general with Rust. Now I want to talk about how documentation works in Rust. So normally in other languages you both write your library and you need to build a small static site, usually, right, that contains your documentation, and you need to maintain it, you need to maybe update it and stuff like that. In Rust that's not the case, because when you push your library to credits.io, then automatically credits.io also create this docs.rs where like it builds your documentation and pushes it to this docs.rs website. So here you can see all the documentation of the rand library, but it's the same for all the Rust libraries. Every Rust library has the same style of the documentation. You can search for functions, and yeah, my connection is a bit spotty now, but yeah, here we go. Like it's very handy because you don't have to deal with different websites. As a user, everything, you know exactly where to look for documentation and so on. And the cool thing is that you can generate this documentation on your laptop offline. So you do cargo doc and also -- open to open it into your browser, and this will generate the documentation. Both you can see that it's in my file system, and this is the documentation of our library HAT, which has two functions, but we also have the documentation of all our dependencies. So for example, here we have the documentation of the run crate, which is the same that of the documentation you will find in the official website, right? So you can run cargo doc before taking a plane, and then enjoying your 2-hour focus time without worrying about not having any internet connection, because you can check the documentation of your dependencies like on the spot, offline. But now let's try to make our docs a little bit more beautiful than this. So in Rust, you can basically you have the comment with double slash, as in C, JavaScript, and so on. But if you put 3 slash, what you write is automatically taken as the documentation of the function in this case. So, like in this example, we are documenting this function add rand. So we say that it's a function that adds to a random number, and since it supports markdown, we can have an example section with some code, like for example some hat and rand, which takes, I don't know, 3, and yeah, let's print this number. Cool. So we can write again cargo. I want to show something. Let's make a typo into our code. So let's remove the first semicolon. So if I do cargo doc dash dash open to regenerate the docs, we can, so first of all, you can see that the first line of our docs appear into the overview of the function, and if you click on it, you have all the documentation we wrote. This code, however, contains a typo, right? And pretty much in most of other languages, that's it. Some user maybe will fix it with a small PR, or maybe it will remain like this forever. However, in Rust, it's different, because all the code examples of your, oh, actually, I also forgot this triple stop. So in Rust, it's different, because when you do cargo test, cargo also tests the examples of your library. So in the CI, you can make sure that the examples of your libraries are like compiled and the test is working. So let's fix this. Let's run cargo test again, and it works. Regarding docs, I want to show you just one more thing, which is that you can also reference other parts of your docs in your docs, basically other parts of your code. So if you want to say it's like add, but with a random number. So with this syntax, you can command click to other parts of your code. And this is also reflected on your website, because if you go to the docs and click here, it will open the docs of that function. So yeah, you can see that docs in Rust are great, and as a developer, as a maintainer, there's really just one thing that you need to do, which is document your library. You don't need to worry about like the ops stuff, or deploying a static website, maintaining it, and so on and so forth. Last cargo command I want to show for today is cargo publish, which just takes your library and publishes it to craze.io. Of course, we don't want to publish this library, but yeah, it's very easy to share something with the community. So that's everything I wanted to show you about cargo. A small recap: the best thing for me is that you don't need to write make files, and you don't need to write package.json scripts. These commands that I show you are standard, and they work out of the box on all Rust programs. For new contributors, this is really handy because like you don't need to read the README, know how to compile a Rust program or how to test it, and so on. And this is all installed by default. Like when you install the Rust toolchain, Cargo comes with it, and yeah, it's a beautiful life. So now I want to talk about two community tools. The first one is Cargo Semver Check, which is a project that scans your Rust crate for Semver violations. But what does it mean? So let's say that you have a library that was already published, and you have a public method called hey. What happens if you rename this method to hello? Well, this is a breaking change, right? So if your library was at version 1.4.5, you will not release it with 1.5.0 if you are following Semver, right? You need to pump the measure version. And this program does exactly this. It checks your code and tells you if there are breaking changes. So let's see how it works. You install it in the same way how you install all Rust projects from source, which is running cargo install, and then the name of the crate. Again, cargo will download the package from crate.io, and it will build it for you and put the binary in a good place in your laptop. Now let's run cargo Semver check. So the first 3 lines are just for running this check, while the last one I specified the name of the package I want to check. This is the output that it gives in the previous case. So when the a function has been removed, so it says that a publicly function is not there anymore. It was public, and here it tells you the rule. So if you want to learn more about it online, you can do it. And here is the place in the source code where your library, where the function was. So yeah, if there are errors, it's really handy to look at them. So yeah, this is wonderful as a maintainer because it can prevent many type of errors, many type of cases in which you can break the build of your users. But maybe you're wondering, oh, okay, but how does this work, right? Maybe it's parsing your source code and creating an AST and comparing it. Well, actually, it's a much more simple trick. We saw that Cargo can generate HTML documents by running cargo doc -- open. And if you think about it, the HTML docs that you see perfectly describe the shape of your crate. And in theory, just by looking at them, you can see if there are some breaking changes or not. Well, it turns out that with Cargo, you can generate also your documentation in a machine readable format, which is JSON in this case. So it's still nicely, so it's not stable, but it kind of works. You need the nicely compiler, and here I run this command to generate the JSON description of my lib.rs file. This is a strict version of the output, and you can see that this block describes my function, hey. So it has a name, it has the file where this function was, line number, column, it was a public function, like it's not const, it's not unsafe, it's not a thing. So pretty much it's a full description of the function. So Cargo Semver check has many rules. One of them is, hey, let's see if the name of this function in the previous version of your library is still visible in the next one. So in my case, I go from hey to hello, and so basically it screens something, and it prevents me from breaking my use. That's it about Cargo Semver check. If you want to learn more about it, I interviewed the maintainer in the latest episode of my podcast, Starship. But so now let's talk about releasing new versions. So cargo semver checks makes releasing new version easier because it prevents you from big mistakes, but releasing a new version is still painful. And now I will show you why. So what are the steps to release a new version of your library? First, you need to pick a new version number. So let's say your library is at 145. Do you bump the patch? Well, yes, if you have if your changes contains just charts or small improvements. You bump your minor version if you have new features, or you bump the major version if your library, if the new version of your library contains breaking changes. Well, this is a bit painful to look manually. You're a bit more facilitated if you use conventional commits. So, for example, you can annotate with the if your commit contains any feature, or char if it's just a small cleanup. But still, you need to look at your commits manually. We have the breaking change problem kind of fixed, but still, yeah, you need to run cargo semver checks manually, check what's the new version number. So once you choose the new version, you need to update this version in your cargo.toml. And if you have one package, it's feasible, but imagine you have a monorepo with many changes, it's a nightmare. You need to update the changelog for every of your package. Here, you need to run cargo publish to grace.io, and finally you need to create the git tag and the GitHub release if you want to, for example, notify your users about this new release, and if you want to, coexist with the GitHub ecosystem. Yeah, this is painful. I hope I convinced everyone. Can we automate this, right? Can we release our packages from CI, automating everything we saw? Well, yes, thanks to the project I wrote. It's called Release Please, and it allows to release Rust crate from CI with the release PR. So basically, on every release, on every commit on your main branch, it creates a release PR. So this release PR contains a summary of the packages that will be released and the new version. So for example, here we have a breaking change. For it detected a breaking change by running cargo semver checks for you, and so it's bumping the Marco test 1 crate from 026 to 030, and it also shows the breaking change in the PR body. So if you didn't notice it, you're still in time to revert it before releasing the package. And it also has 7 changed files because it's updating the changelog, the version number. Actually, all the screenshots you saw before, they were taken from a real release release. So it creates the git tag, the GitHub release, everything you saw. And when you merge this PR, it means you are ready to release your project. And so in the CI on main, it will release everything, cargo publish, git tag, GitHub release, and so on. Adding it into your CI is really easy. You just check out your repository, you install the latest Rust toolchain, and you run release please by giving him your GitHub token to create PRs and to create GitHub releases, and your cargo registry token, so the token that it will use to authenticate to grace.io. I just checked before coming here. Release please now is used in 100 projects, so that's great. And that's it. That's it from me. Here, these are my social in case you want to follow me. I share both useful stuff about Rust but also silly memes like this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marco. I have a new mic.
Nice.
Very fancy setup. So I don't know if people from home are hearing us with mic, but just in case, I don't know, we're still in the there. Just in case, we're gonna take question now after another big round of applause for our friend Marco Ieni, because he also has a surname.
Thank you.
And yeah, just in case, please do repeat the questions in case there are.
Sure.
Okay. So any question for our friend Marco? Yes, please.
Two silly questions. The first one is about the linter, the linting about Rust. I'm where to specify one of the file.rs.
Yeah, it takes everything. I think normally it doesn't lint for your tests, but there are flags that allows you to specify, like if you want to test it for your tests, you want to test for all your features. That's an advanced topic, but yeah, by default you run cargo lib and you check all the files.
On these,
Mm-hmm.
as far as you know, a Rust file takes all.
Yeah, so now I remember to repeat the question. This question is about if Rust compiles all your library into all the libraries you depend on into your binary, or if it just takes the part that it uses. So I believe that by default it takes everything and puts it into your binary. Not 100% sure, but I'm definitely sure that there is an option to just take whatever it's needed for your binary. Yes, probably if it takes everything, if is to optimize compile time. So by default, I guess that probably by default it takes everything and puts it in your binary to save some time. But then you can specify. Yeah, I think the option is called the LTO.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you unlock a meme for your question.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? Don't be shy. There are many questions to be had for Rust.
There are many memes too.
Many memes too. So, who wants to win something that I don't know yet what, but winning is important. Like stickers, which are already free over there, but winning them is better.
We have a question here.
Yes.
Hello, Marco.
Hi.
Great. So when you added the dependencies, you added a fixed version.
Yeah.
And this is because it's a binary. When it's a library, it adds a greater or equal, or it all tries to, how does it work?
Yes.
The dependencies.
So when
libraries.
usually like this. Okay, the question is when you add the dependency, it add version. We can show it on screen right now. So we have the latest version, which is 0.8.5. So, and this is the same if you add it to a binary or a library. So this is when you add the dependency like this, it's like saying I want to depend on this minimal version, but I'm also okay with dependencies that respect semver, that are semver compatible, but even greater. So there is a cargo.log file, which I will show you right here. And if you look for the ground state, it has this this version here, which and yeah, this in this case they are the same from cargo.tom and cargo.log. If you run cargo update, it will update all the versions that you defined into your cargo.toml in a compatible way. What does it mean? It means that if rand 0.8.6 is available, which is compatible, then the cargo.log here will say 6, and you will actually use that version. However, if rand as 0.9.0, then cargo update won't update to it. So normally the cargo.toml says this is the minimum version that I accept, but then cargo figures out what's the most up-to-date version which is compatible. And this is why it's so important to have cargo semver check in the ecosystem, because if you release rand 0.8.6 and it contains breaking changes, then your users you break the build of your user. I hope I was clear.
Again, Marco, any other questions to add there? Okay, welcome. Okay, I have one for you actually. What do you think could be like a really nice start, like open source projects out there, get people started in? I think it's amazing language, so people gotta get started in Rust.
Well, of course, mine release, please.
Yeah, that's a good selling point.
I'm very happy to welcome new contributors, even people that have very little Rust experience. No problem. Yes, I've already done it. There are 2 or 3 people that did their first contribution to Rust in release, please.
Very nice. By the way, and I think he knows about this, Hacktoberfest is coming very, very soon. So it could be a really nice excuse if you want to contribute in open source, get a starting point, which can be writing documentation, writing your first commit as code in some repositories out there. And as Schrödinger hat, we also have 3 repositories, I think, written in Rust, which are very small, very tiny, and very user-friendly as a starting point. One is called Lorem Clipsum. You can guess what it does. The other is called CatTTP, so you can guess that too. And the other I don't remember, but Marco will go and check them out so he can tell us how much we are bad at writing Rust. And when I say we, I really mean I, but community is everything. So blame the community. Any other question for our friend Marco out here? No? Okay, I really wanted to see the other memes though, but you know, yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, it's like that. We cannot go over this. So thank you very much, Marco. It was a pleasure having you here. A big round of applause for our friend Marco Ieni. Thank you so much. And well, I would say thank you for being here and joining us.
Thank you. See you next time.
See you next time. Well, now go and sit. You're gonna stay. You don't get to run away. Thank you.
Absolutely.